Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. The Hearthstone Standard rotation of 2023 is approaching. And now it's like the question, okay, hey, I want to play some Hearthstone, but what deck am I going to use, or what deck can I craft right now so that those cards won't be wasted, so that the deck would be safe for rotation proof. So in this video, I'm going to take a look at all the best decks that you can craft right now that you will still be able to play with very minor modifications after the rotation. Obviously the power level cannot be guaranteed because there's a bunch of new cards coming, but at least the decks themselves are not going to become obsolete just because they're going to lose their key cards. And first of all, I want to point this one out. This is more of an honorable mention. I don't actually recommend crafting this right now, but Beast Hunter, I really enjoy Beast Hunter, and Beast Hunter, yeah, you don't kind of want to craft this right now because it's losing the Rat King, Beastalker Tavish, Wing Commander Ichman, some expensive legendary cards, but the core of Beast Hunter, there's this whole big beast team coming in Festival of Legends, and much of the core of Beast Hunter is probably going to be quite usable with those big beasts. So Beast Hunter, if you're already playing Beast Hunter, you have something to look forward to in Festival of Legends, although you probably don't want to craft this right now. And then into decks that you may want to craft right now. Coming in at number 7, the 7th best deck that you could consider crafting at the moment would be Imp Warlock. Imp Warlock does lose a few cards though. Grimoire of Sacrifice, Wicked Shipment, Imp Swarm, Shady Bartender and Dread Lich Tamsin. And especially Shady Bartender and Wicked Shipment are pretty big losses, because you want those imp numbers, and whenever you play a token deck you really want to be able to buff those tokens, and Shady Bartender was your main buff alongside the Wild Library, so that's a pretty big loss. There are a couple of new imp cards coming in Festival of Legends, and they slot in nicely at 2 and 5 mana, so they do get into this deck pretty okay, but they're just not as good as the ones that are leaving. So yeah, Imp Warlock, the story of Imp Warlock is not going to be over, at least completely, because there are going to be new cards so that you will be able to put together a deck that consists of imps, but how strong it's going to be, that's more of a question mark. And at number 6 we have Aggro Mage. Aggro Mage is losing a bunch of stalling tools and some card draw. Flurry, Iron Deep Chalk, Shivering Sorceress, Amplified Snow Flurry, Frostweave Dungeoneer are all leaving, and replacements for those cards are a little bit limited. However, the deck is going to maintain its main win condition. Those spells are still there, Astor is still there, Sivaro, Egwin, all of the stuff that deals damage is still there. You're just losing some abilities to stall the game, control the early game, and some kind of solution for that would need to be found. But the win condition is still existing, it's still viable, so Aggro Mage looks like a deck that is fairly safe to craft. At number 5 we have Pure Paladin. Pure Paladin is also losing a number of cards, and some of those are pretty good, like Knight of Anointment, Alliance Bannerman, Stoneheart Vindicator. Carrier Roam, much less of a loss. So if you want to craft Pure Paladin right now, then you probably want to craft it without crafting Carriel, because Carriel is rotating out, then you don't spend so much on it. And Pure Paladin does have some interesting stuff coming, because in Festival of Legends there's this Divine Shield team for Paladin, and you're already playing with Righteous Protectors, you're already playing with Sanguine Soldiers, you're already playing with buffs that give Divine Shield, so you have a bunch of Divine Shield stuff in the deck already. Some slots are going to open up, so there's some room for those Divine Shield cards. And also, even if you don't use this version of Pure Paladin, there's also the Silverhand version of Pure Paladin. The Silverhand version is significantly weaker at the moment, but it's going to get a bunch of improvements in the core set, so there's also a chance that Silverhand version of Pure Paladin can become the thing to go for in the next expansion. At number 4 we have Miracle Rogue. Miracle Rogue is a deck favored by many high legend players. Very good in specific metagames, but it has a bunch of weaknesses as well, but it's not losing much. It's not losing much at all. Blackwater Cutlass, Mailbox Dancer, and Edwin. Some card draw, some discounts, some of those coins from Mailbox Dancers, so it gets a little bit slower. And then there is this Bounce team coming for Rogue in Festival of Legends. So how does this work with the Bounce team? You still need a bunch of cards to make Big Necro or Draga, for example, but maybe the Miracle Rogue will be able to coexist with the Bounce team, or Bounce team can be incorporated into this deck. And after all, that Potion Belt, Potion Spirit decided that Concoction Pack is just so super strong that it's probably going to be run in any rogue deck anyway, so crafting those is not a problem. And at number 3 we have Undead Priest. Undead Priest loses a handful of cards, Shadowcloth Needle, Void that's Tendon, so some of that burst, and some of the ways it has to fight against token decks, and Nayak Hexen. So sad, Nayak Hexen was such a fun card. But now that Dark Bishop Benedictus, which was supposed to rotate out, is actually going to be added to the core set, so Undead Priest doesn't actually lose that. And then we have Shadow Ascendant coming in the core set, we have Tour Guide coming in the core set, Black Knight is coming in the core set, good fit into Undead Priest. Undead Priest is just going to get all the replacements it needs basically already in the core set, so Undead Priest looks like it's going to be fine after the rotation. So if you want to jam some Undead Priest, you can go ahead and craft it right now. And obviously Death Knight is the big winner of the rotation because no Death Knight cards are rotating out. I thought that Blizzard might adjust the Death Knight core set, but they announced that they're not going to do any changes to the Death Knight core set yet, and that means that, well, Death Knight, Unholy Death Knight loses 1 card out of 30. That one Iron Deep Trog out there. Or if you run a bit of a different list, then maybe you lose like 2%, and that's it. Other than that, Unholy Death Knight, everything is going to stay in standard format after the rotation, and it's just a wonderful deck to play. And it's pretty cheap too, because many of the cards are from the core set already, so yeah, just a great choice to play right now. And finally, the best possible deck to craft at the moment, if you think about the rotation, Frost Death Knight does not lose a single card. Not a single card. Well, it loses Bran Bronzebeard if you play with a version that runs Bran Bronzebeard, but you don't even have to play with Bran, you can also run a double Might of Menethil list, and yeah, Frost Death Knight, splendid deck. Doesn't lose anything in the rotation, perfectly safe to craft right now, and just keep playing. And you can keep playing this when the new expansion comes if you can't afford the new cards, and you're just going to be fine. So this is a very strange rotation, because if you know the current meta, then looking at this list, hey, these are the decks that are losing the least. The decks that are losing the least are also the best decks at the moment, pretty much. So all the top tier decks are just going to continue post-rotation, so new Festival of Legends decks, they better bring something serious to the table if they want to change the meta. But be that as it may, most of the top tier decks at the moment are quite safe for after rotation, Death Knight being by far the safest, Frost Death Knight especially losing absolutely nothing. So these are the decks that you can play with right now, succeed on the ladder, and then continue after the rotation. Perhaps one word about Blood Death Knight in the end. Blood Death Knight also doesn't lose anything in the rotation. So Blood Death Knight is also in that sense a fine deck. But Blood Death Knight performance is much weaker than these, so you probably don't want to play with that if you really want to succeed. But anyway, that's it. That's the best decks to craft, the safest, the most rotation-proof decks at the moment, so that you can still keep playing Hearthstone for the next week and a half before the rotation, and then just keep jamming after that as well. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.